the room. And we're back in the room, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once more to the show that keeps on giving, the gift that keeps on giving, the Caiman Show. As always, I have a treat for you today. Joining me today, a very special guest. He is a singer, he's a songwriter. His album is available now, released on the 25th of June, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is Ojai. I believe that's the correct pronunciation. I have only read it. We'll come to that in a bit. Firstly, Michael Armstrong, my friend, and now yours, viewers and listeners. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on board, sir. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. I feel it's only right, as we were just talking off the air before we hit that magic button, about a former guest on the show, a mutual friend in James Zada. I think it's only right that we give the man a shout out. Great artist, great stuff going on. James, this one's for you, sir. How would you do?
Hey, James. Good man. Yeah, James has got a fantastic album out, Fame, and he's a wonderful singer-songwriter, so and a good pal.
Yep, good stuff. Good guy. Brilliant stuff. Excellent. Well, James, I'm sure we'll be coming back on soon, all right? So we'll park him for the time being, and we'll move on to more pressing matters with yourself now, Michael. So cool. First of all, I guess what I'd like to do is just ask how, where, when, and why people got into what it is they do. So first of all, if you're game, how, where, when, and why did you first, I suppose, get into music and then break into music, if you will?
Cool. Music. I mean, music, I guess for all of us, has been there since we were very, very small. I mean, my parents, although they're not musical at all, they had a great record collection, and there was always music on in the car or in the house. And, you know, we'd sit down as kids and before your time probably and watch Top of the Pops on a Thursday night. Or
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember.
You do remember the Top 40 countdown on a Sunday. And that was really the only, certainly Top of the Pops is the only time you'd get to see the artists other than on a vinyl sleeve or something, because obviously there was no internet, and really when I was growing up, videos had only just started to be made. I mean, I was born in 73, so I was really getting into music in the late 70s, mainly through the 80s. But yeah, my dad had a great record collection. I remember listening to a lot of like Steely Dan and Supertramp and Neil Diamond and the Beatles. And Led Zeppelin were one of his favorites. I never really got that heavy into that kind of stuff. But yeah, so all that kind of music I grew up around. And when I was about 11 or 12, I mean, I just immersed myself in music. I loved music, particularly the Beatles. I became pretty obsessed with them.
I actually started with the Beatles myself as well. So it's a common theme, I think, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what a great place to start. You don't get much better. And yeah, I think I got a guitar for my 11th birthday or something like that, an electric guitar. I had tried to play an acoustic guitar before that, but my fingers were too small. I was too little. And so electric guitar has a much thinner neck, and the strings are closer, so easier to play. And I started having lessons from a local teacher. And I think as soon as I could play 3 chords, I was writing songs. They weren't very good ones, but I always knew that I wanted to express myself through music. I was good at English, I guess not necessarily poetry, but songwriting seemed to come naturally. And yeah, I was started playing shows and things, and then I taught myself to play the piano as much as I do. It's kind of a weird, kind of strange technique I have, but that was during rugby lessons at school. I went to a rugby school in Wimbledon, and I've never been one. I love sports. I love watching sports. I'm a big football fan, and I kind of like rugby, but I've never wanted to play sports. I don't want to get cold, muddy, and wet, and I certainly don't want to get beaten up by some big guy.
Let me cut in for 1 second. Hang on. Let me try to fathom this. You know, you went to a rugby school, a rugby playing school, yeah, and you came out not playing rugby but playing the piano. How does that work?
Well, you know what happened was that my games teacher, my sports teachers, quickly realised that I absolutely had no talent whatsoever for the rugby, and were quite happy for me not to go to the lesson and get in the way. And I was quite happy not to go to the lesson. So the kind of deal was, the unspoken deal was, I didn't have to go to games lessons as long as I didn't go home. I couldn't bunk off. So I went to the music block, and I used to sit there during rugby lessons or games lessons, listening to Beatles songs or Billy Joel songs, and working out how to play them on the piano. So it was time well spent. I've got a school report indoors from like the summer of, I don't know, whatever it was, 1987 or something. And it's under the games section. It says Michael has performed well in sports this year, although he hasn't been to the lesson since January.
Brilliant. Hey, you still got a positive result out of it and a glowing report of sorts. So, you know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Excellent stuff. Brilliant. So from there, then you've learned how to play in your rugby school, yeah? So what were the next steps on your journey then from school? Where did you go from there in terms of music?
I started, about the age of 15, I probably was. I got a job at the Holiday Inn Hotel in Sutton, in Surrey. It wasn't far from my house. And basically being a bar entertainer, I was clearly underage to have a drink, but I don't think that stopped me, if I remember rightly.
So it didn't stop any of us, mate.
And I ended up playing there quite often, Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, and Sunday lunchtimes. And my brother would join me and play bass and do harmonies and stuff.
Was that your own stuff then, or covers, or a mix?
No, this was all covers. It was all covers.
What sort of stuff?
Oh goodness, kind of what we've spoken about: Beatles songs, Eagles, Crowded House,
classics,
Neil Diamond, the stuff that just good pub music, really. Stuff that people recognise and know. Nothing that's going to do anyone any harm. Easy listening, background music, if you like. But I've got a bit of a following going there. People who weren't staying at the hotel but were locals would come back, every Friday, Saturday, and ask for songs and things. So that was a good grounding. And from there, I started my own band, playing my own music, which was a very different kind of thing, because you can't go into a pub or a bar who are expecting a good night of music they recognise and play your own heavy singer-songwriter songs, which particularly what you write when you're 17 and 18.
That's
like, woe is me kind of thing, You've been there. And so you had to go to specialised music venues for that. And we did all right. It was hard work. I mean, the height of that kind of success came when we played at the Shepherd's Bush Empire in London, which is a big venue, 2,000-3,000 people. We weren't the main act, but I played there 3 times, I think, supporting a blues guitar player called Snowy White, who'd played with Pink Floyd, Manfred Mann's Earth Band, who were fantastic, and a band called the Counterfeit Stones, who were basically a Rolling Stones tribute band. And they were
awesome. I get it.
They were a lot of fun, and we did a little tour with them as well. So that was kind of the height of the success. But the problem with that was, with playing your own music like that, was that you play the Shepherd's Bush Empire one night, and then the following night you'd be in a grotty pub in Harlesden, which is a long way from where I live in London. And the only people in the audience would be my mum and dad, who had traipsed through an hour and a half's worth of traffic to come and see me play the same old songs.
Yeah, I've done those gigs as well. It's one night we played on one event when I was in the Originals band. We played on one event in Coopersfield in Cardiff in front of 15,000 people. Then the next night we were in a pub in Merthyr Tydfil with Bob, Bill, and Jack all in attendance, and nobody else. Yeah, sounds familiar.
It brings you down to earth, doesn't it? But,
definitely.
And we kind of did that for 3 years without kind of breaking through, and I think eventually we just you start to fall apart, you start to lose heart. And I ended up working in the building industry in London. My dad ran a building company, and my parents were very, very supportive of my music career and have been the whole way through. But there comes a point as a parent, as I've since learned, that you need to say to your teenage sons who are lying around doing nothing all day, come on, it's time you pulled your socks up and started doing something. So I went to work with my dad, and it was meant to be a kind of stopgap thing. And before I knew it, 15 years had passed, and I was married with 3 children and a large mortgage. And this kind of temporary job had become pretty important. And I thought I'd probably lost any chance of being a real musician or working in the music business. Although during that entire time, I'd still continue to write and record songs. I had a studio at home, a little 4-track and then an 8-track, and then eventually computers. So I kept myself busy, but it didn't look like it was gonna turn out well.
So you spent 15 years working in the building trade, yeah?
Yeah.
So still doing bits in the background, but not really trying to progress. So at what point, and I suppose what brought you to the decision then to say, right, sod it, I'm taking the gamble, I'm going for it. How old would you have been then when you made that decision as well?
I think it would have been 10 years ago. So I was 37, nearly 38 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So what brought you to that? What was the final straw that you thought, right, I'm going for this, I'm doing this? Talk us through that process. How did that go?
There were a few things that happened over the period of a year. And probably the most key thing was that I was thinking about things more, because I was, as I say, 37, 38 years old. Yeah. So the dreaded 40 was looming. So maybe it was a midlife crisis. But my dad, who I worked with, had a heart attack, and he's fine. He's still with us now. But
glad to hear it.
Didn't want to carry on the building business. And it was a really successful company as well. We'd really done well with it. But and so he didn't want to carry it on anymore. And I never really wanted to do it in the first place. I was still wondering, what am I going to do in my life? You know, I am
now.
And so am I. But I just, so there was that in the back of my mind. And then I then met just through chance, a lady called Lisa Davies, who had worked in the music business as a promo girl all her life, and promoted.
I think I've heard of her.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was through a covers band, actually. I met some old guys who I used to play in a covers band with, and they said, "Oh, we're now playing this other band, and we rehearse at Lisa's house. She's part of the band. Why don't you come around and join us and have a jam?" And I did, and I walked into the house, and I'm actually there now, and I could see all these gold records on the wall, as you can see behind me. I'm pointing here, so there's gold records all over the place. And I thought, hang on, this could be very useful. This lady could be quite handy. And so I gave her a CD, and unfortunately she didn't listen to it. Her husband, it took about 3 months. I thought, maybe they didn't like it. It's difficult to keep saying to people, have you listened? It was her husband who finally picked it up and put it on, and just kept on playing it all the time. He absolutely loved it. And she realized it was me. And so then I started doing doing bits of work for Lisa while I was still winding down the building company. There was still jobs finishing off. And I remember this is a classic moment. I remember being in Hammersmith in London, working on a house. I didn't really do any building myself. I have to say that was more management. We've already established I don't like being outside and being cold and dirty.
Nah, not for me.
And no. So, but I was at a dusty building site in my dirty jeans and driving my battered up white van when she called me and said, was I anywhere in London? I said, yeah, I'm in Hammersmith. She said, I'm at the BBC Radio 2 in Oxford Street, I think it was, or was ITV or something. And she said, I need a favour. She said, we're meant to be doing a TV show with Cliff Richard, one of her clients, and Cliff's stuck in traffic and is not going to get here for 2 hours, and they need to rehearse the camera shots and everything. They need someone who can sing. Do you think you could step in?
Oh, wow.
I said, yeah, damn right.
Hell yeah.
So I say to the guys on the site, excuse me, I just got to go and stand in for Cliff Richard. And they'll build us and look at me like a man. And I jump in my dusty old van and I pull up outside Radio 2 or wherever it was. I think it was Radio 2. And luckily enough, there was a space right outside, and Lisa was waiting with all these kind of bigwigs. And I pull up in this shitty old van and jump out looking a right mess. And she says, oh, here he is now. And everyone's looking horrified. And I went into the studio and I did this track. I had to sing with Frida Payne. Oh,
God.
Sang Band of Gold.
Yeah.
And it was the duet that Cliff was doing with her. I knew the song because Lisa had played it to me, and I'd been listening to it, and so I could sing it. And so I sang this song with Frida Payne. Then Cliff turned up. He said, thank you very much. And I left the place and went back to the building site and said to the guys, guess what I've just done?
Yeah. Jeez.
But when something like that happens, you think, okay, do I want to be doing this stuff that Lisa's doing, or do I want to be doing this stuff on the building site? And so that kind of
finally, we both know the answer.
We both know the answer. So that kind of made my mind up, and we set about making an album. And I figured that to make an album, I would have to not be at work. I had to do it full time. So I used my savings. I got new studio equipment. I got an Apple Mac and different interfaces and things. And thought, okay, let's do this properly. And I thought it'd take me about a year. And after a year, I was only about halfway through it, and I'd completely run out of money. Oh. And I've got to remember, I'm looking after 3 kids, and I've got a mortgage and a wife.
Yeah,
so
not an easy thing to do in itself.
Not an easy thing to do. And I'm thinking, well, this might have been a bad decision. Do you know what I mean? Because the wife was on at me. Anyway, I said, Lisa, and I've been working for Lisa, doing bits and more for her across that year. And thankfully, Lisa said to me, okay, well, I need some help. Why don't you come and work with me 3 days a week or something, and then you can still make the album on the other days and you can earn some money. And so that's how I ended up being able to finish the album, and also how I ended up being a partner at Lisa Davis Promotions, because we ended up working so well together and taking the company to new heights, I hope. Brilliant. And because we were now doing things from both sides of the business, there was me as the artist as well as doing the promotion side. We were seeing it from all sides, and I think that's helped us develop the company as well, because I can empathize with the artist as well as the business side.
Definitely, yeah. You got to look at both sides of the coin, sort of thing. Yeah. Fantastic. So you mentioned Cliff Richard there, which led me on in my thought process. So it wasn't there something that happened in relation to Cliff Richard where you met Paul McCartney?
Yeah, it's one of my great stories. That was amazing. That was
tell.
That was the Queen's Jubilee concert in 2012 at Buckingham Palace, and as always at these events, Sir Cliff gets invited to perform because he's most successful.
Because he's Sir Cliff.
Because he's Sir Cliff. Do you know what I mean? What else could you want? And also the other thing that happens at these events is Mccartney is going to be there to headline because he's Paul McCartney.
Yeah, exactly.
And Paul McCartney is my biggest hero. In fact, he's probably the reason I ever picked up a guitar or played the piano. I explained that I love the Beatles, and we said that we grew up on them, but really as a child of the 80s, the Beatles were long gone. But that was McCartney's solo period after Wings and in the early 80s.
That's right. I remember the first song I remember of his was, I believe, Pipes of Peace. I think it was. It was like the German army playing football with them and everything. That video, I remember. I think it must have been 81-ish, something like that. I want to say, at a guess.
82. I was thinking. I don't know, something like that. But you're probably right. Yeah, but exactly. That's kind of the first. That was the first big McCartney album that I got into, and so absolutely adore Paul McCartney. And so at the Queen's Jubilee concert, Cliff was playing, and we had to go there for kind of the weekend, even though the concert was on Sunday, I think it was, or the bank holiday Monday, can't remember. But we were there for a few days leading up to it, doing rehearsals and getting all the passes and things like that. And there was just this enormous dressing room. It was like a tent, but inside a tent was lots of little tents. We walked in there, and we were there before Cliff. We had to find his room so we could show him where to go. And Cliff's was there, and I looked next door. Next door was Paul McCartney.
Wow.
They all had names on them, and then it was like Stevie Wonder, Tom Jones, Elton John, Gary Barlow, Kylie Minogue, and I was thinking, this is crazy, man. And I managed to get the cue sheet, and I saw that I think it was the following morning, quite early, 10 o'clock-ish, McCartney was sound checking.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to be there till about 5 PM, but I was there at 8:30 in the morning and getting my space.
Of course you were.
And, I watched McCartney sound check, but he played for about 45 minutes, just played a load of everything you want him to play.
Yeah.
And there was about 5 of us watching. And I was singing probably louder than Paul McCartney, because obviously I knew every word. And so he came over to me when it finished and said, "Hi, I'm Paul."
No shit.
Right. And he was just, he was a sweetheart. And I got to hang around, or I say hang around, I probably just followed him around like a lost puppy dog for a couple of days.
As one would.
But he was really sweet. But the crazy moment came at the end of the actual concert, and I'm standing backstage, and McCartney and his band finished the whole day with Obla Di Obla Da.
Ah, yeah, classic.
And as they went into the track, as usual, these things, all the artists who performed all day joined him on the stage. So they've all
have a
walked
jam
out from the left and right, and they'll come in on, and they're all singing Obla Di Obla Da. And the last people onto the stage were the military wives, and there was about 30 of them all dressed in black. And I had a black suit on, and I just thought, yeah, it's now or never. So I joined into the military wives, and I went onto the stage at Buckingham Palace, and I sang Obla Di Obla Da with my hero Paul McCartnney and with Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Gary Barlow.
Absolutely amazing.
It was awesome. Absolutely brilliant, and it was all fine until the song ended, and then I thought, well, I can't get off the stage. I thought I could get arrested here. And before I know it, I'm shuffled into a lineup, and I was introduced to Her Majesty the Queen as one of the military wives.
Oh, good Lord. Jeez, that's a fantastic story. I partially knew this story, but the end of this story is all new to me, and it's fantastic. What a terrific twist. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was so good. There was I tried to watch it back on TV, but I was so small you couldn't make me out, and I thought, oh, that's a shame. And then about 4 days later, I think it was Ojai magazine released like a whole magazine was about the concert, and the center spread is a picture of the Queen, Prince Charles, I think Tom Jones, Gary Barlow, and then right between them you can just see my grin like this, bang in the middle.
Fantastic. Oh, that's epic. Absolutely fantastic. Hey, like you say, it was now or never, and now was the time. So get in there.
I've dined out on that one a bit, let me tell you.
That's brilliant, though, man. That's brilliant. You can't pay for things like that, Is it true you toured as also with Leo Sayer?
Yeah, when the first album came out in 2015, and I toured that year with Leo Sayer. That was a great tour. It was September, October. I think it was like 36 dates across something like 28 days or something, but it was fantastic. It was my first major tour. I was obviously the guest support act.
Yeah.
And I was doing it solo. I didn't have a band. So I was just literally going out there telling stories like that one, and playing the guitar and playing the piano and playing my songs. But it couldn't have gone any better. It was a wonderful experience. And from that, I went on to do a few more tours. I did a few shows with Beverly Craven after that. And then I did a great tour with Tapao, Carol Decker.
Oh, yeah.
And Carol likes to get her money's worth. So she said, if you're going to be on the tour, you can be in the band as well. So she could,
really?
Yeah. So I ended up playing percussion, drums and percussion, and doing backing vocals for Tapao. So I was on stage for like 3 hours a night. I'd go out and do my set. I'd rush off, change the shirt, have a quick beer, come back on and play with them. I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic tour.
Oh, that's awesome. Fantastic. Brilliant. So you said you'd play drums for them. So also you were playing guitar for yourself, for your
guitar and piano with me.
And piano yourself. So you play drums, guitar and piano then, yeah?
Yeah, I started out as a drummer, actually. I didn't mention that at the start. That was the first. I mean, as any young kid wants to hit things, the drums look great.
Totally,
and, my parents were foolish enough to buy me one, but I became quite a proficient drummer. I enjoyed doing that. That's good fun.
Excellent stuff. Man of many talents. Fantastic.
Jack of all trades, I think you say.
Yeah, well, that's me, a jack of all trades, a master of none in my case, but it's okay. I get by. So people may have seen you on our TV screens as well. Would you like me to talk about this as well? Yeah, because I'm gonna.
You go ahead. Go on.
I go ahead. So yeah, I understand from my reckoning on this story here. You were somewhat headhunted. You were on holiday at the time, and then you ended up where? Come on, talk us through it.
Are we talking about the American Idol?
We are indeed. Yeah. What's the story?
The American Idol thing was a bizarre incident, because actually what happened, I was on holiday in Florida with my 3 kids, my wife and my mum and dad, and in one of the theme parks, I can't remember which one it was, there was a thing called the American Idol experience. Yeah. And my middle son, Sam, it was his 8th birthday. I remember this quite clearly. And he said, come on, Dad, for my birthday, because obviously I'm a singer, they know what I do. Can you go in the American Idol experience? And I'm not a huge fan of kind of TV talent shows, but we were on holiday. Yeah, why not? I just thought it was a ride or something, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it.
And I went in there, and you have to choose a song to sing, and then go into like a heat. And so I chose "Walking in Memphis," the Mark Cohn song, and they do like a film piece on you, and then you go into this huge arena, and obviously all the people in the theme park have gathered in there, and they get to watch you and vote who is the best. And you have like a panel of 3 judges. You have the kind of Simon Cowell type who puts you down, and it's all that kind of thing.
What virtually, yeah?
No, there's actually people in there.
Oh, there are actually people doing it, right? Okay.
I think they were meant to be famous. I didn't really know who they were because they're American, but and so I did my best, and I won that heat, and I thought, oh, that's great, it's fantastic. Everyone's going mad. The sons, kids loved it, my mum and dad, and I just had a shorts and t-shirt on. I wasn't really taking it seriously, and they said, okay, well, you need to come back for the grand final, which was later that night or the following day or whatever. And I said, okay, I'll come back for the grand final. That'd be fun. And so I went off. I didn't think about getting changed. I went on a few roller coasters. I drank a few cocktails, and I come back looking more ruffled than I even was before. And I walked into this place, and there's a real kind of really tense in there. And I was the only guy. There was the rest of people who got through were girls, and they were proper dolled up. These girls, really dressed up in makeup and all the dresses. And there's me in my shorts and t-shirts having a cigarette with beer. And it turned out, I discovered while I'm sitting there that whoever won that competition ended up going onto the TV show straight to the boot camp stage in American Idol.
You knew nothing about this.
I knew nothing about it until that point. And that's why these American kids that come from all over America, this is the way to get straight into the, without going through all the audition stuff. Yeah. This was a big deal. And so I went out there and I did my thing, and unbelievably I won it, and the girls are all crying, and there's all ticker tape come down.
Oh my God.
Berserk. And when I came outside, there was a queue of people wanting my autograph, and my kids were hugging me, and it was fantastic. I'm signing autographs, and for the next, I think it was right at the start of the holiday, for the next 2 weeks, I was queuing up for roller coasters or standing there waiting to go on a water slide, and someone would go, "Hey man, you're the guy that won American Idol. You won." Even on the plane on the way home, I was coming back from the toilet or something, and someone stopped me. "You were great, man. We saw you," because it was beamed all over the parks as well. So it was a bizarre experience, but what it actually turned out at the end of the story not to be such a happy ending in a way, or maybe it was, because the American rules are that you have to be a resident in America to be able to feature on the TV show. It's very different in England.
That's not fair.
And so I wasn't able to go back and do the TV show, but I think that might be a blessing, actually, in retrospect. But
perhaps, I sort of share your views on manufactured reality television musicians or artists or whatever you want to call them. It works for some people. But I think there's more to being a musician than taking. Well, I think
it's more about children's television, isn't it, or Saturday night entertainment television?
Yeah, of course it is.
Well, actually, they don't care about the artists on the music. It's about viewing figures, isn't it? And then getting a Christmas #1, and then making some money, and then doing it all again. So that's why very few of the winners or the contestants actually go on to have a prolonged career. So it can be a bit of a poison chalice, I think, but that's the modern world we live in.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think the ones that do happen to make it are the ones, or when they do make it, it's when they've shed that label and moved on and started doing their own thing anyway,
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah, fantastic. Cool story though. Excellent stuff. So your album, Ojai, is out now. As I mentioned to you earlier on, it's my car CD at the moment. I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Mikey Mochen in his camper van as well. He's requested I lend him the CD. I have told him, buy it yourself, you tight ass shit. But I'll probably end up lending it to him. But it's an excellent CD. The songs and the lyrics are fantastic. Talk us through this album for those who haven't heard it yet. A, where the hell have you been? B, buy it now. And C, tell them why they should purchase it, what they could expect from it.
Well, it's my third album. and like you say, it's called Ojai, which is actually spelled Ojai. So it's been called Ojai and Uji and Ouija and everything. But I don't care what you call it as long as you buy it. Like
Exactly.
You say, even Mikey, or is it Mikey?
Mikey, yeah, Mikey Mochen.
It's called Ojai for a reason. Ojai is actually a place in California, and I was really lucky enough to go there in 2018 on the invite of an American singer-songwriter called Ben Folds, who's one of my absolute huge inspirations, and I'm a huge fan. I've loved him since he's Ben Folds 5 Days in the 90s, and I've got every album, I've been to every UK show he's done. And so to get an offer to go out and spend some time with him was fantastic. And it was like a songwriting retreat. Ojai is about an hour and a half's drive north of LA.
Okay.
And the whole experience was just mind-blowing. I'd never been to California before, and so I went to stay for 2 or 3 days in LA, in Santa Monica actually, and do a bit of sightseeing. And then I hired a car and I drove up the Pacific Coast Highway through the mountains, through Malibu Beach and that to Ojai.
Oh, you poor man!
Listening to the Beach Boys, you know what I mean? It was
fantastic. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, it really doesn't. And then. And Ben turned out to be not only a fantastic musician, songwriter, but also a fantastic bloke. And we spent a week, me and some other, I was the only Englishman there, and mostly North Americans, Canadians. And we just spent a week talking about music, writing songs, eating great food, and drinking whiskey. It was
fantastic.
Great. And I really felt like I felt like I come back a changed person. Actually, I really did. Had quite an effect on me. And I was promoting my second album, Looking for the World. But I'd written all these songs in Ojai. And so when that was over, in kind of late 2019, I think it was Christmas 2019, 2020, I thought I'd start recording the bunch of new songs. And I always thought it's going to be called Ojai because the majority of the songs were written there. And they got that kind of West Coast feel. It was a natural kind of progression. And then lockdown, COVID came.
Didn't it just?
And it actually gave me the opportunity to finish the album because I'm stuck at home. I was still working, but because I was at home all the time, any break I got when I wasn't able to do the promotions work that I do, I was able to work on the album. It also gave me the excuse not to do the homeschooling with the kids because I tried that and it was absolute hell. So,
yeah, I can relate. Yeah, and my partner Amy, she can totally relate. Trust me.
Yeah, that was really tough, and so it's my excuse to lock myself in the studio. I'm making an album and close the door and
do not disturb.
That's it. Yeah, red light on. So yeah, I managed to finish it throughout lockdown, and thankfully with the aid of Zoom and the internet, I was able to also get other musicians on it because I don't have enough room to record live drums in my studio. So I put down computer drums, and then I get my mate John Howell played the drums on that album, on the first album, to go and put their parts on, and got a bass player to do their part because I'm not great at bass. I'm not very inventive. And electric guitar, I got a great guy called Antoine Saltz, who's a young Frenchman, and he's a fantastic guitar player. And I met him through his band Saltz, who I was doing some promotion works with, and I got them to play a gig with me in 2019 as my backing band, if you like. And they just blew me away. And so I knew I wanted him on this album. And his sound is probably what makes the difference between this album and my first two albums.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got a West Coast vibe to it, the album. I think
it has 100%.
Yeah, I think maybe you want to be driving on the Pacific Coast Highway with the roof down, listening to it. Unfortunately, we don't get the opportunities too much over here. But
yeah, so I did the next best thing. I went driving along the coast of Ogmore by sea in an Astra, but next best thing, right? It was a sunny day, though. It was a sunny day.
That's the British way. I think I was probably listening with the windscreen wipers hammering away or something. Yeah, so it's just it's been really well received, and it's and wonderfully, it's doing well in America, which is
Fantastic.
quite an
Yeah.
amazing
Well,
thing.
I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about America. Let's talk about the US indie music chart then. You had a #1 in a US music indie singles chart. Tell me a story.
I do. I have a #1 in the indie music. I notified yesterday that it's still at #1. So
It is still at #1. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Consecutive week. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, it's I mean, American charts are that's done on radio play as well. It's not sales or download. So my song is being played a lot, which is really wonderful. Yeah, I mean the story that came from really was or how I've done it, if you like, was back in 2015 when the first album came out. Someone said to me then that they thought my music would do well in America because it's got that American vibe to it. And so being a UK promo guy, I thought I would just go online and find DJs in America or podcast, guys like you, but in America. And I thought, that's fine. I'll knock that out over a weekend. 6 months later, I was still going. America is a big place. I decided I'd do it state by state, and somewhere like Maryland, maybe they've only got 1,000 DJs. So that would only take me 2 or 3 days. Get to New York and California and you're working at it for 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, crikey. Never ending rabbit hole.
But I'm one of these people I'm very anal, if you like, and I set myself lists and I do things in order. And damn anyone if I was going to give up. I made those lists. It took me forever, but I did it. And ever since then, whenever I release a single, I've been sending music out to all these places. And occasionally, I've had something back from Detroit or Wyoming or I remember somewhere in Hawaii said they were playing me. But I don't know how big these stations are. It could have been just a village or something.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool though, to know that someone in Hawaii is.
Oh yeah, no, it was still cool. It
playing your tunes.
Yeah, and I'd done the list together. So once I'd done it, it wasn't, it's only just a matter of sending emails, which still takes time. But this time I sent out the song Each Other's Eyes, the track that opens the album, and I got a message from a guy in New York saying that he really loved the song and he'd passed it on to a few people and a few other stations and DJs at his station, and also a promo guy who does basically what I do, but in America. And he called me up and said, I think we could do really well with this song. Can we have a meeting? So we had a Zoom meeting, and he told me his fees, and I nearly fell off my chair. I was like, that ain't going to happen. Not in a million years. I don't really have any more money. I spent enough money on making the album.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't have money to go and spend like that. But he was confident that he could do something with it and said, would I give him the chance? And because he had an artist he wanted to promote in England, so we did a quid quo pro kind of thing, and we've become good friends. And he's done an amazing job. Yeah, #1 in the indie music singles chart for the 2nd week running, and number 17 in the top 40.
That's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. So when did you learn of this news that it was #1 first of all? And you're obviously going to remember, because we do. Where were you at the time? What were you doing at the time? Who were you with? What were you wearing? Blah, 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 blah.
Okay. I wasn't wearing anything.
Whoa!
Hey, you asked. I was in bed. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. In fact, I'll wind back a bit, because the American charts are announced on a Friday publicly, but the artist or the artist's representative gets told on a Tuesday evening, which for me in the UK is Wednesday morning. Right.
Okay.
So about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I woke up on a Wednesday morning and I'm sitting in bed having a cup of tea, as I do, put the TV on, and I look at my phone, and this guy promoter from America sent me a thing saying number 35 or something in the USA chart. And I was like to my wife, wow, I'm number 35 in America. We should get the champagne on ice.
Awesome.
And my wife, having lived with the ups and downs of a musician for many years, looked at me and said, let's wait till it gets to #1, shall we? No, just not impressed at all. And so Wednesday, not last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, I woke up at 7 o'clock, and my wife works in a care home, and she was doing an early shift. So there was no one there. I just picked up my phone, I looked at it, and American #1. I was like, wow. And so I text my wife and said, I've put the champagne in the fridge. And she replied, seriously? I was like, yeah, man.
She got it. She knew exactly what you were on about. Yeah,
exactly what I meant. So I'll never forget that. And yeah, we had a good old party that evening. Let me tell you.
I bet you did, man. Fantastic. That's awesome. Congratulations again. What a massive accomplishment, and well earned by all accounts as well.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good, man. Hard work pays off. You know, that's clear to that. So obviously you write good songs, no denying. All right. So what I'd like to know is, where does the inspiration from your songwriting come from? Because listening to the lyrics, and a lot of it is, you can relate it all to real life and things which are going on in the world and everything. What's the story there?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I guess, you know, I'm an older man now. I'm 47 years old. My first album didn't come out till I was about 40 in the end. So I'd had a lot of life experiences. I'd lived life, like we said. I was a father of three, and three reasonably grown up boys by that point, and had married. So I experienced a lot. So I guess I wasn't writing from the perspective of a 17, 18-year-old anymore. Inspiration can come from anything. I'm not overtly political, but I am interested in politics. I don't think there's anything on this album particularly touches on that, perhaps more in the last album. But, in terms of sound, all the people we've mentioned, I love all kinds of music. I still love that 70s singer-songwriter, or the great bands like your Fleetwood Macs and your Eagles and Steely Dan and people like that. And lyrically, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan. And so he's the master of the lyric, and I really like to make interesting lyrics, because I think it all stemmed from playing live. Sometimes when I was younger, when you're playing live, you get a little bit bored if you were playing the same songs every night, and they weren't exciting me, and so I decided to try and write lyrics where I would look forward to what the next line is, something clever, something whatever, but still something that people can relate to, And so sometimes there's a twist in the song or something like that, and it just keeps me and the audience, I think, alert. And it's fun. It's just one of the things I do. I find it very hard to write an out-and-out love song. In fact, strangely enough, the song "Each Other's Eyes," which is the #1 in America, I didn't write the lyrics for. That was written by a guy called Sam Stringfield. It's the only co-write on the album.
Okay.
And it's an out-and-out love song.
Yeah,
I couldn't have written it myself. It's just, that came from Ojai when we were there with Ben Folds, and we decided we'd just try and write out-and-out love songs, but only lyrics, and then we'd all swap lyrics and write music to each other's lyrics. It was just a way of collaborating with someone or putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And it clearly paid off in this instance. So
100%. US #1.
Yeah,
clearly.
Right.
So "Each Other's Eyes," is that coming out over here as well as a single?
Yeah, we did bring it out as the second single, I don't know, a few months back, but since it's risen to the heights it has in America, we've gone back to radio and TV and things in England to saying, hey, this old bloke has got an American #1, so maybe you should listen to it. So yeah, that's being reissued here. Yeah,
excellent stuff, fantastic. So that's just great. I'm still buzzing from the US #1. That's awesome. You must be as well.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Let's hope it's the first of many then, eh?
Well, that'd be nice.
Sounds good to me. So on the back of this, can we expect to see you touring at all, or is that something that we can look forward to?
I certainly hope. I certainly hope so. There's nothing going to happen this year, but I mean, I did. Funny enough, I did a show a couple of weeks back at my local pub. They were doing a beer festival, and obviously know I'm a musician, and they said, would you do a little set on a Sunday afternoon? And I thought, yeah, I'd love to. And I think in the lead up towards the gig, we got the news that it was #5 in America. And that went out to like my fan base and all that. And it ended up being this mass celebration. I mean, I live in a sleepy village called Banstead, and we blew the roof off the place. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
The place was absolutely packed, and we really partied and celebrated. So that was cool. But yeah, I'd love to get back out on the road next year. I think still slightly precarious this year with the COVID situation.
Yeah, you can't be too careful, at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't think so. So we'll do that. And obviously, I'd love to go to America if that's possible.
Never say never, you know.
Yeah.
It's there. Well, you know, I think you've got a claim on that now anyway, haven't you, as well?
I think I might have, yeah.
Most definitely. There's no thinking about it. It's there, you know. So what's next for Michael Armstrong then?
Well, again, I think obviously to get another single out in America is imperative. I think you can't, you know, you got to build on or try and capitalize on that success. And I'm constantly working on new music, writing music. I've got a plan for the next album already. I haven't actually started working on it in terms of recording, because I've been working on another project with another guy where we're doing writing for a
what's the plan? You're not going to tell me.
Tell a million.
Good man. What a plan.
That's it. Simple.
But successful.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, we'll just keep plugging away at it and having fun. That's the main thing.
Brilliant. That's what it's all about. I think when it stops being fun, that's perhaps when it's time to.
When the fun stops, stop.
That's right. Yeah. I'm going to keep that one and use that one. When the fun stops, stop. Brilliant. So where can people find out more about yourself there, Michael? Where can people find out about you? Where can people get hold of the album, the back catalogue, singles, things like that? Okay, well, it's the website is the best place for everything, which is michaelarmstrongmusic.co.uk, and the social media sites are all kind of derivatives of that. It's Michael Armstrong Music. You'll find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and wherever, Twitter. And the albums are all available as digital downloads or as actual real physical CDs from either the website. That's what I like. Well, me too, yeah. So it's either on the website or Amazon, and even in an HMV if you can still find one. I think they certainly stocked the first album, that was for sure. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Well, excellent. Well, I wish you all the success in the world with everything you're doing, and congratulations once again on tackling America. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think you are like just key to the fact that persistence does pay off. You know, a key example there in yourself, and you've clearly been persistent and now it's paying off. So I applaud you for that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, mate. Top man. Well, it's been lovely to meet you, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll chat again soon. I'm sure we will. And if you do cross the border over that bridge into Wales, do give me a shout. I'll come and check you out. I'll make sure I'll do that. We're going to have a beer. Sounds good to me. I'm always up for beer. Top man. Michael Armstrong, everybody. Buy the album. Treat yourselves. Live on the Caiman Show. Woohoo! Woo!